the PTSD and everything about how hard it is. Do we really want to do one at a time, or can we go launch 40 next year with these guys? You'll be coached on how to do wash, dry, fold, and pick up and delivery really, really well. This is going to be fun. I can't wait.
All right, welcome to today's show of the Laundromat Millionaire. We are very excited about today's guest. We have Mark Vlaskamp, formerly of the Folde, now of 2 Year Laundry, and a CLA board member. So we have a lot to talk about. So Mark, welcome.
Hey, how are you? I've been getting used to the 2 Year Laundry thing. And one of the things that really made it set in, it's a super long process, right? Things don't happen overnight. One of the first times it really hit home was recently when I was editing a customer support article, and I just did find and replace the Folde with 2 U. And the second time is when Carla just hit them back to back.
Oh,
so it's starting to set in. It's real. There's no going back.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Hey, before we jump into anything else, we'd be full disclosure, guys. Mark is here as a CLA board member to talk about the conference that's coming up in Nashville in a couple months, and we want to give everyone all the information on whether this is a good investment, a good fit for you. But we'd be remiss if we were talking to the legend Mark Vlaskamp of the formerly of the Folde, and we didn't at least pick into this a little bit. And one, just congratulations. You're going to share a little bit if I'm sure 99% of people know what we're about to talk about, but tell us real quick about, I know you had four college roommates or partners that kind of started this thing, and man, did you bootstrap the Folde. Let's talk about that for just a minute, even though that's not why you're here, because honestly, I probably know just enough to be dangerous, but I think a lot of people are pretty intrigued. And I know you and Alex, good friend of mine, you guys were over on Jordan's show and made your big announcement and streamers and everything over there, which was pretty cool. I watched the whole thing. But in case anyone missed it, tell us about building the Folde, what that was like, and 4 or 5 partners. I know you got Codie Sanchez, the legend, as a business partner at one point. What was that like? I gotta ask you a few questions about this.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm so used to now telling the story in 60 to 90 second little segments that you skip over a lot of the hard parts, the PTSD and everything about how hard it is. But we got into the business to chase after delivery. We really believed delivery was, we were young. We were the demographic that wanted it. Turns out young, broke, single guys is not the demo. It's dual income families, but doesn't matter how we got there, we got there. And we really weren't planning to get into laundromats. We wanted to just attack delivery, being kind of a middleman. You're seeing the rise in popularity of that model too right now. And quickly learned it wasn't super scalable. And it was very hard to retain customers because we didn't control the quality. Not to mention it's just lower margin on top of lower margin.
So just to clarify, you were outsourcing at first, right? So you were essentially a marketing operations company, but you outsourced the actual processing of the laundry?
Right. Yeah.
We to other laundromats, I guess?
Wholesale dirty laundry. Yeah. Okay. We would drop it off and pick it up and wholesale dirty laundry. Worked really well when the laundromat could keep one attendant busy, but as soon as they needed to hire or manage more people,
their margins
they didn't want to do it. Yeah, they didn't want to do it. And then, quality was rushed. Orders weren't getting done. We were losing customers. We knew the business model was sustainable. The last business my partners and I were in, we manufactured kayak fishing accessories. So the widgets that you put on your kayak so that when you flip, your paddle doesn't float off. Or this was around the time when GoPros got really popular, right? The GoPro mounts, the anchor trolley, so you could swivel yourself around. Well, you buy an anchor trolley once and you never buy it again the rest of your life. So we knew the recurring nature of this was good. We just kept losing customers after one order because we were selling it to the banana head laundromat owner down the block. So we knew we needed to retain customers better. And that's why we got into the laundromats and ended up falling in love with it, but didn't go into laundromats seeking to fall in love with the retail business. We just wanted it as a means of getting to the delivery customer.
How long did you operate the Folde as a delivery business before you bought a laundromat? Was that about 3 years?
It was about 2.5 years. And then we bought a zombie mat in Houston and flipped it. So that's the asterisk, is technically we had a laundromat after 2.5 years, but it was a shoebox. It It might have been 1,900 square feet, 19 washers. Like we filled it up immediately. It was in a terrible, terrible neighborhood. Retail was virtually non-existent because it was so poor of a neighborhood. So we didn't really get our first sample size of a real laundromat until about four years in.
Okay, gotcha.
So those first 4 years, was that already called the Fold, or were you just laundromat owners that were doing some delivery and didn't have a brand?
It was always the Fold. It was always the Fold. Yeah.
Where did that brand come from?
No one knew about it. No one knew about it, but it was the Fold.
What's the idea behind that other than the obvious folding laundry, I guess?
Is that we originally went to incorporate in Texas as the Fold, F-O-L-D, and it was taken. So we just searched what domain and what name was open. It was like a nonprofit clothing company. I'm not sure if they're around still. The Fold without the E. And not knowing if this was going to last more than like 3 weeks or not, we just said, let's slap something onto it. We had just gotten off of a tour of the Heineken factory in Amsterdam, maybe. And they talk a lot about the smiling E in the logo of Heineken. And so we were like, well, let's just throw an E on it. Maybe you had a couple Heinekens and threw an E on it, and then it stuck. It's really boutique and artisanal now, but the decision making to get there was the exact opposite.
Wow, that's crazy. Now we don't want to talk too much about this, but I have a few more questions just for me because I'm curious. You had, is it college teammates? Is that what the partnership was?
It was 2 college teammates and then my best friend. So my best friend and I, all of us took about 5 years after college, worked our own jobs. And I worked that kayak fishing job with Miles, my best friend. And so I brought him in with the college teammates, and the 4 of us started this.
Was everybody involved? I mean, I know you have been very hands-on, the managing partner, et cetera, the whole time. But were they involved in the business? I mean, were they in there doing laundry and picking up laundry? And did they eventually evolve out of the business, or did they do marketing? Or I'm just curious. How did you leverage those other 3 bodies that were willing to, I assume, work pretty hard to get this off the ground, or did you?
Yeah, no, and everybody did. Everybody earned their stripes, cut their teeth on doing deliveries, managing employees, and folding clothes. At different, we had a CPA, an investment banker, and a supply chain specialist, master's type guy. Very expensive laundry folders and delivery drivers. But at different times, they ebbed out of the business and became more nights and weekends, where we could get younger, stronger, faster, more hungry at the position, instead of paying an investment banker to fold laundry till 2 in the morning. That's not super scalable. But everyone stayed on. Everyone had their niche and kind of stayed in their lane. Got to see through the exit.
Yeah, and you started in Houston, right? Because I know you ended up, when you sold to you had Austin and Houston. Is that right?
Yeah. We started in Austin and quickly moved to Houston. And Houston,
you started in Austin.
And we had a laundromat in Houston before Austin, just because it was cheaper and easier to get a laundromat. We were so broke, we bought a shoebox and put a washing machine in it, basically.
Right.
How many locations do you have?
We have 2. We've done a couple buys and sells along the way. At times, the game plan has been, let's roll up a bunch of these, and layering delivery on it, quickly turn to, let's just sell them and buy bigger. So we've got 2 monsters. The one in Houston's about 10,000 square feet, and the one in Austin's like 7,500 square feet.
Nice.
Two's good for me right now. And that was a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so real quickly, what did the business look like before you sold to 2U? I mean, I know you have 70, 80 employees. Did I hear that somewhere along the line?
It's ebbed and flowed as we've significantly pushed price a lot, like trying to drive price up. So, supply and demand, that meant our orders went down and thus needed less employees. So I think around its peak, we got up, flirted with 80. I mean, that's a lot. You find you're more profitable, maybe moving backwards on the bell curve a little bit, less employees, less volume, but at a higher price point. So in current state, I think right before 2U got involved, it was probably 55-ish headcount on staff, 12 to 13 bands. 6 days a week.
Wow. Well, I'm going to throw this out there just because everybody's listening. This is a little mini interview in and of itself here. Crash course on how to start a pickup and delivery business from scratch on a shoestring budget. But I will tell you, we obviously had 4 laundromats when we launched our business, but we learned the same thing, Mark. I mean, we do about 60% of the volume we used to do probably 3 years ago. And we make more profit doing 60% than we did doing 100%. So I always tell people, don't chase the gross volume. That's a vanity metric. It doesn't mean anything. We're both saying the same thing. So I guess I'll leave that there for the
chase the profit margin.
We learned the same thing. One, this is a very labor intensive business, and there's a big hassle factor, is what I tell people. And so, man, every pound of laundry you do, or bag of laundry, by the way, that you do, you want to make sure that you are making as much money as possible off of that and providing a high level of service too. So I just wanted to point out that we travel different journeys, but we realize the same thing. I think there's still a lot of people in the industry that are chasing the 36 vans and 800 pounds of laundry an hour kind of thing, and that isn't really all it's cracked up to be. I guess it would be my opinion of that. So we pivoted in the similar way that you did.
Yeah, totally agree. There's seasons for all this for us. Like, we're hardly ever going to be the same in, 1 month to the next or 1 year to the next. So just like the target of, laundromat count or employee count or van count changes, there's, our focus is always changing.
Yeah.
So yeah, certainly there was a season where we were chasing as big and as bad as we could get. And that is no longer the season.
Want more profits out of your laundromat business? Let us tell you about our new company, LaundroBoost, and how it can help you to boost your profits. You may be thinking you've used digital marketing companies before and they wasted your time and money. Well, that's why LaundroBoost was born. As 14-year veteran laundromat operators ourselves, we've been there, and it's sickening.
So what makes LaundroBoost different? Our team combines technical digital marketing with veteran laundromat operators and coaches to give your campaigns the ideal blend for getting you results. But then we take it a step further with our strategy. Our strategy is to be hyper vigilant with every marketing dollar, so no fluff.
Yeah, in the beginning, we focus on a 3-pronged approach that we think is unique in the industry. The first is website design and landing pages, making sure those are honed in properly. The second is daily analytics studies and strategy with your Google AdWords campaigns. And the third is geofencing. It focuses on your nearest competitors and where your ideal customers live and where they shop. We believe we've got something special, and we've spent our own dollars here in Cincinnati to test it, and we're growing faster now than ever before.
To learn more, schedule a free discovery call and market study for your market. Visit laundroboostmarketing.com today. I'm curious too, how did you end up when and how did you end up bringing on Codie Sanchez? Did you already know her, or did she reach out to you?
No, I didn't. No. So we were raising a small friends and family round. We basically saved our pennies. And when you're only making pennies, it takes a long time to buy a laundromat. But we saved it. We were incredibly diligent, strong operators, razor thin margin, and we needed a little bit more to get across the finish line. We had our dream laundromat picked out. We had a deal negotiated, so we didn't have to move. We were operating in it. The guy had a lot of leverage on us, so the price negotiated was about an 8x multiple, which still penciled in our model compared to what we were doing. So we needed some help getting across the finish line. I had a bunch of buddies come in on like a friends and family fundraise. My buddy, the geologist, right? My buddy, the banker, things like that don't know anything about laundromats. And as we're finalizing it, I love Twitter. I use Twitter like LinkedIn. I don't necessarily love LinkedIn. I like Twitter. I like kind of rolling around in the mud with the people on Twitter. I'm not buttoned up enough to do LinkedIn. But I saw her, and there weren't many people talking about laundromats on Twitter at the time. There's significantly more now. But also, she wasn't the traditional laundromat owner archetype, right? She's this young woman talking about it, where most of the people at the time talking about laundromats in Facebook groups and stuff were old men. So reached out, shot her a message. She gets overwhelmed with DMs, and I was never expecting one back, but I basically sent a picture. I was like, hey, you like laundromats? Look at this laundromat. We have it filled up to the roof. guys throwing bags all over, hundreds of bags on the floor. And she reached out and she's like, hey, let's set up a meeting. Would love to invest. And so had coffee, got it done. I mean, and 3 or 4 days later, it was done. She came in and was the cherry on top. And since then, that was the inflection point when it took off.
Sure.
Having someone like her that we could call when we needed help, or when we needed to push in the right direction, or we were at a fork in the road, really made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, Carla probably doesn't hardly know who Codie Sanchez is because she's not a big social media person. But
I do know.
I'm a big fan. I consume all of her
her
content. She's an absolute rock star. She is smarter than probably everybody I know combined. No offense, Mark.
Yeah, no, she is.
She's crazy smart. I learned so much from her content. I'm just so grateful. I've tried to do that on a much smaller scale myself, but she's a rock star. So kudos to you guys. All right. So last question before we get into what we're really here to talk about today, which is the workshop and the conference and stuff from the CLA. Why sell? Why'd you sell to 2U Laundry? And I'll bait you a little bit because I know you've used this term, the Chick-fil-A of laundromats.
Yeah. I just really wanted to do it bigger. I think someone's going to win. I think someone's going to, Procter & Gamble's going to come down and someone's going to win big. So that's part of it. That's slightly more calculated than I usually think, though. How I think I was looking at it is like, wow, the resources they have, the team that they've built. If you plugged in our team, and not just me, right? Plug me in. I think there's a multiple to gain, but also you plug in our general managers, right? You plug in our shifts leads to their infrastructure. You plug in our driver who's now going to be managing a region, right? Not just running a route. Like it made too much sense not to look at. It's great for me, great for my partners, but everybody down the organization is like, let's go do this. We've done this twice. We're getting ready to do it a third time. It's like, do we really want to do one at a time, or can we go launch 40 next year with these guys? Mm-hmm. And so that was ultimately it, is that we thought we get where we want to go faster by joining forces. They're just an incredible team. I'm not the world's most polished CEO, right? I'm a great operator, but I kind of knew we were going to make a great right-hand man to somebody. Then we were going to go roll it up and do it ourselves. So we'd been kind of shopping around for a little bit and really fell in love with 2U and liked what they were doing. It was a glass slipper that fit really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I don't know if you know this, Mark, but our audience probably does. We had Alex on the podcast. Gosh,
it's been a while.
Season,
I remember that.
Maybe second season.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have you guys back on and we'll refresh that a little bit now that things are a little bit different and you're becoming the Chick-fil-A of the laundromat industry, which I think is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of Chick-fil-A too, by the way. Business model and food, by the way.
Yeah.
So very cool, very excited. Definitely rooting for you guys, as I texted you and told you when we saw the announcement and everything. So congratulations. That is an amazing story. Guys, even if you're an independent operator, you're not looking to franchise. The last, 15 minutes that we just talked about, there's a lot of valuable information in there from Mark. So I know he's plugging in probably more than ever now. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, but I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Alex's story. And Dan's, by the way, Alex and Dan's story over at Laundrolab 2U Laundry. But I'm thinking that y'all, were you about 7 or 8 years from launch to today? And I think they were around the same. Am I correct, timeline wise?
Yeah, they started about a year or two before. And the reason I know that is because I was so concerned how we were going to get a scale because we didn't own a laundromat. Like that's how broke we were at the time. Like how could we price this without having a scale? And we saw their flat rate bags. And that's when
the
flat rate bags
secret.
clicked.
The secret. Now he's laying it all out there. That's
right,
the reason.
Exactly.
They couldn't afford a scale. That's hilarious. I'm dying over here, Mark.
Exactly. So that was like revolutionary at the time. It certainly got us through the first order.
That's actually pretty clever. I got to give you credit for that. That's pretty good. That's funny. All right, let's jump in. That was a blast. I wish we could have done that for an hour. Honestly, Mark, we should have done this. We should have had you on the show a year ago. But anyways, here we are. There's nothing better than free. Ever heard that before? Well, it's not true. You know what your laundromat customers like even better than free? It's fast. That's right. They want to save time more than they want to save money in most cases. They want to get in and out of your laundromat as fast as possible, and they'll pay more for that experience. We're proof of that here in Cincinnati. That's why we added HM Company drain troughs into our newest store in Cincinnati. While they may never know why, your customers will love that your washers all drain better and faster than with old school drain pipes. As if that wasn't enough, every HM drain trough is made in the USA, so they ship in only a few weeks and everyone is custom made just for you and your project. If you want to provide your customers with a top of the industry experience in your store, then contact your distributor to order your HM Company drain trough today or visit draintroughs.com. The reason that you are really here today is because you're a CLA board member. And first of all, real quickly, I just want to cover why because you're a pretty new, 18 months maybe, board member of the CLA, which if you're not familiar is the Coin Laundry Association. That's our industry's trade organization. If you listen to our show or watch our show, or you hear me talk about it and promote it all the time. Big part of my success in the industry. Big fan. I'm at every event that the CLA puts on. But one of the things we want to do here today is talk about an upcoming event that we have going on that, by the way, me and Carla are going to be speaking at. So we'll be there. We'd love to meet you and get to know you and all that stuff. But before we jump into the actual event itself and really give people kind of a wet their beak for what they're going to get if they decide to attend the event, why did you decide to become a CLA board member?
Oh, and also thank you, because it is a volunteer position.
Yes,
which
very thankless.
I know is also a lot of work.
Yes, and I'll just state it. I know quite a few board members, present and past, and the impact that you have made on the CLA and the time you've made it is quite impressive. Mm-hmm. Not suggesting that the CLA was not a good organization. Always been a big fan, but I think they're starting to find their rhythm and find a different level. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's around the time that you and Alex too, and some other new board members that are good friends of ours, joined with just a little bit different way of looking at the industry, maybe the future of the industry, we'll say.
So why did you decide to run as a board member?
Yeah, I just like it. I just like laundry. I like talking about laundromats. I like helping laundromat owners. Ken Barrett early on, he's kind of one of the OGs in my mind of the CLA. He, around the time, a lot of laundromat owners were telling us no, you can't do it in our store. No, we won't help you. No, we won't sublease to you overnight. No, we won't give you a wholesale discount. He was one that wasn't in Texas, so we couldn't use his store, but I saw him talking about something online. And when I picked up the phone to call him, he picked up and helped. He shared a bunch of SOPs with me. He took my calls. He helped talk me through things. To this day, we have we don't sell a training course or SOP kit. We just have one that we give away to people who don't have a laundromat who want to start in Ken's honor, right? Doing what he did for us. And he was a CLA board member. So that's when I got into the CLA. He talked highly about it. He was very involved. So at the time, I thought that the CLA was you just help people. And that seemed like a really easy fit. And that's kind of what we've been doing. Turns out there's a lot more involved. There's a lot of advocacy and government stuff and politics and events and stuff like that. But my initial appeal was just to help people out and kind of keep paying it forward what Ken did to me.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. As Carla mentioned, it's a pretty thankless job for the most part. And you don't get paid. She mentioned it. It's a volunteer position. So it's maybe double thankless, because it seems like a lot of things in life, if you're a leader in any particular way, you don't get a whole lot of praise. You tend to get a whole lot of the bathroom is broken or whatever kind of stuff. The website doesn't work, that kind of stuff, and as if it's your fault. So as somebody who is probably as appreciative of the CLA as anyone in the industry, at least that's my opinion of my heart, going back to 2009, thank you. Because, I don't know some of the people that were helping. I mean, obviously, Brian's been around forever and is a legend, but I don't know a lot of the board members from back in the day. I know almost everybody, I think now, probably everybody. But I can see some changes. So when you got in the CLA, what was your thought? And I know you're just one guy on a board of 15, 20 people, but what did you say? Did you see there was opportunity for improvement, or did the board, I'm assuming there was, I know you and Alex came in at the same time. And by the way, just so our audience knows who I'm talking about, Alex Mierznak, he's one of the co-founders of 2U Laundry and Laundry Lab, pretty good friend of ours and an amazing human being, great guy, big fan for sure. But you guys joined at the same time, and I'm guessing a few others. Did you see the opportunity to improve some things, or because you have?
Yeah, I don't know if it was as intentional as you made it out to be, but you just one thing I've tried to do is I haven't. I like people that are like doing cool stuff. It sounds so simple. Like if you're doing something unorthodox or cool or progressive, I want to talk about it. I want to do it. And a lot of what I've been doing is just encouraging them to talk more about it. Right. Like Brian, the president of CLA, has been fighting these advocacy battles every day behind closed doors. Right. Like, and no one knows about it. And I'm not in there particularly fighting with him. So I'll give him hell on Twitter every once in a while if I see him. But what I'm encouraging is like, hey, get on these podcasts. Like, let's talk about it. Let's send out a newsletter. Like, let's include our members, things like that. But no, the organization's always been great. It seems to keep being great. We're just working on, promoting what we're doing a little bit more, talking about it, because I think we're so busy fighting the problem that we don't have time to talk about it. And I think that is one thing we're working on improving. And you're seeing that with the lobbying efforts around the Department of Labor in New Jersey right now and the microfiber ban in California. That one's crazy. That's a whole nother subject. I could go on California for a while, but we're talking about it more and we're asking for help more. This is not Brian against the state legislature anymore. This is, we're asking all owners to come and help and be knowledgeable and be included and help us. And I think that's a big difference.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Well, also
I think it unites us, and then it also, I think, shows people how important the CLA is. I think people can very easily dismiss the value if they're not like you. You reached out to Ken Barrett, you got help, but for those people who aren't reaching out to the CLA as a valuable resource, because now, unlike when you started, unlike when we started, there's so many resources out there, like our podcast, Jordan's podcast, where people can get help, get free help, like from you. They maybe don't see the CLA as a necessity for all of their resources. Like it was the only resource for us, but it doesn't mean that they're not very valuable in other ways, even if you're not using them just as an educational resource. So I think that's really good that you're getting that word out there, that there is real value here with the CLA, and we all need to work together to help save our industry, basically.
Yeah. And for me, like the educational stuff was always kind of table stakes. It was like just enough to get you in the door and excited. But it seems like lately people kind of sell us short in that's all the offering is. And I always think that's crazy. Like that's a little extra free mint. Yeah, that's the mint for coming to dinner, right? Like everything else is so much more important. So the advocacy is huge. I think just encouraging everyone to get involved has been what I'm doing. Encouraging Brian and the team to talk about it. Get off of the keyboard for a second and talk about it. And then one other thing is the events. The events are so critical to trade organizations in any industry. We've been really taking a fine tooth comb at the events, what's working, what's not working, what do people want, what do people not want anymore. In the years since COVID, so much has changed. Laundromats are now like trendy and sexy, right? That wasn't the case pre-COVID.
For the first time in my life, I'm
media.
Cool.
Right.
For the first time ever, I'm cool. Well, maybe not me, but us. We're cool.
Right place, right time.
People like you.
Me too. I'm riding the COVID tailwind still. But things like that. And then the demographics have changed significantly, where it's attracting a lot of younger people. It's attracting a lot of more better capitalized people. And so we're seeing the events change, what people want in events changing. And so now that we finally have green light to bring events back, that we're trying to get, 2 to 3 big ones a year. And one of those is the wash dry fold that we're going to talk about. But it's been this fine tooth comb where the committees have been looking at, we're not just going to keep doing something because we've always done it that way. Like the rise of the laundromat influencer has happened since COVID, when we're allowed to have events, right? Like there's laundromat influencers now. How can we include them, right? There's podcasts now. There weren't podcasts before COVID when all the events stopped. Like how can we include podcasts in those? Laundromats weren't primarily wash, dry, fold before COVID. Now there's a lot of them that are. How can we include that in the event? So there's been a lot of auditing the events and seeing what we can do to improve them and make them better. And we've had conversations offline, Dave, but events are a tough business.
They are.
I'll take pickup and delivery laundry any day over events. That is live and die. Like your heart rate's up until the last minute when the last registration comes through to cover your costs. So tough business, and we're making sure we don't waste any money or waste anybody's time and do the adequate preparations for it.
Wow.
Having done our first conference ever, yes, we totally get that.
We learned a lot.
Crazy.
And then we learned a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's made it a challenge for us to make sure, A, it's got to be an awesome event, but B, it has to be, we can't lose money. We're a nonprofit organization. We have to make sure it at least pays for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and obviously bring value to the attendees so that they tell other people how much value they got out of it and they come back, right?
Yep.
So, Ben, what a great parlay, by the way, to, in my opinion, and I hope nobody takes offense to this, I want to talk real quickly about the first Wash, Dry, Fold conference, and then we'll talk about the one coming up in Nashville. It was in Chicago last year. In my opinion, and this doesn't mean that other events haven't been fantastic, because they have. And I've attended most of them, but we're going back to at least 2012. So I've spent a lot of money attending these things, even when I really couldn't afford it and didn't have it, and got tremendous value out of every event, by the way. But I thought the one in Chicago, the first ever Wash, Dry, Fold conference, was a monumental success. I don't think I've ever seen 190 people at an event. So just the sheer number was good. The engagement, the speakers, the lineups that were put together, the panels, I just thought it was the best one yet. And I know you were somewhat a part of that. I know board members aren't, Danielle does a whole lot of the work, and the whole team at the CLA, Brian and everybody, but you had to be a certain level a part of that. What changed? What shifted? What was different? And then obviously we want to talk about the one coming up here soon, because I think it's going to be even better.
Yeah, I was brand new then. I really wasn't involved in the planning of the last one. I agree with everything you said. It was awesome. And I think we learned a lot about what worked last year. I think the reason it was such a success is because it was so Wash, Dry, Fold centric. We weren't just laundromat owners trying to cast a broad net. Is that we could really drill down, and you saw a cohort of the attendees that were dry cleaners looking to get into Wash, Dry, Fold. You could spot them out in the crowd because they're the only guys wearing suits, right? And then you saw there was a huge cohort, I think underrepresented, and this year we're catering to it, is the people who came that didn't own a laundromat. I mean, I was getting stopped in between every seminar with someone who didn't own a laundromat, wanting to know exactly how we started that playbook. They could care less about laundromats. Yep. They wanted to know, how did you survive without one? So this year we're seeing a lot of that trend continue, where it's the folks washing for Studshare or Poplin or Loopy or Hamper that are they're not laundromat industry people. They're not the CLA's target demo, but they're the perfect demo for the Wash, Dry, Fold conference.
Yeah. Wow. I hadn't really considered that, but I guess you would attract those people because that's your journey, right? And they want to learn from you in that way. I have a good amount of people through coaching and stuff that'll approach me and say, hey, I want to get started this way. And I've done it enough times now that I know you all have barriers to overcome that we didn't, already having 4 laundromats. And I've learned that through the School of Hard Knocks with some of my coaching clients too. So I'll always caution them. Don't fall in love with what Mark accomplished over there. And you're one of the ones they bring up every time, of course.
So you eventually got a laundromat.
Yeah. Well, and that's the story. That's the thing I tell people. I'm like, hey, go talk to Mark. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I will tell you what I know of the journey is they were like, if we're going to make this work, we got to get a laundromat, which I always find interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a lot of people, like it was for us back in the day, like it's just not something you can go to a bank and get a loan for and do. So you have to cash flow your way into it. You have to put in the sweat equity to then have a bank underwrite a loan for you. Yeah. Certainly it's hard, right? But if you are one of the lucky few to come out the other side, like you were going to be a Roman gladiator, you were going to know how to operate like the best of them. So I certainly encourage it, but that's why I think, that's why this is my favorite, right? This is why I like the event. This is why I think a lot of people like the event, is that it's not a clean show catch-all for everything. It's not an excellence catch-all for everything. It is very specific. The target demo for this conference is very specific, and it's the people wanting specifically to do that kind of niche subset of the industry that used to not get a lot of attention. Well, guess what? Now we got a whole weekend that it's just us and we can do it. We don't have to hide in the corner anymore. I think that's really, really fun. I think that's why a lot of people show up.
Yeah, that's a great point. I completely agree. And I will say, maybe there's something for us as an industry to learn from that when it comes to events, because one of the things I hear consistently just about events collectively is everybody is so tired, and I would have to put myself in this category too, so tired of the vagueness. They're so tired of no offense to anyone, because we had some of this at our conference too, but the round tables and even the panels, and not that round tables and panels in and of themselves are a bad thing, but just where everybody sits around and talks very vaguely. And you don't really actually get into the weeds, which is where we really learn. So I think if we take a conference like the Wash, Dry, Fold, and I know it's also Pickup and Delivery, by the way, conference in Nashville coming up in October, and we'll give you those dates in a minute, by the way. When you take that thing and you say, hey, we're going to spend 2 days only talking about this, and our speakers are all going to exclusively, or most, be exclusively about this, and they're going to hit different categories. I mean, I guess that's why I don't know that I really realized why I was so impressed by it until you just brought it up. But I think that's why, because I certainly am at a level where I'm ready to stop talking about the vague stuff, and I'm ready to get in the weeds. But also me and Carla are very willing to share what's, our version of the weeds too, where we try to be pretty transparent. We don't really hold back just because we have our own workshop and things like that. I mean, we believe we're all better together, as you know, Mark. But I think that's a powerful thing that maybe we can take something from that and learn for even like excellence and other things like that. So, yeah,
exactly. That's the kind of, and maybe this is helpful for those listening who are wondering what to expect. You can look at it through the lens of what we learned from last year, which you and I are both saying was a great event, but still had a lot to learn. We really learned 3 things. One is to niche down, like go even deeper into this niche, make it super niche. This is Wash, Dry, Fold, Pickup and Delivery. That's it. The second is to leave more time for Q&A, that everyone is coming for their own questions, that leaving a speaker up there for an hour, if he has an hour, he's going to talk for an hour, right? That's like, I'm learning if you give people a project for a month as the deadline, they're going to take a month. But if you gave them an hour, they'd still get it done in an hour, right? So like, we're going to cut speaker time down and leave ample time for Q&A. And the third is to kind of give create your own adventure optionality to it. That people are coming to this event, well, they all have the common thread of interested in Wash, Dry, Fold, or Pickup and Delivery. They're all at different points in their journey, right? We mentioned points in my journey where I couldn't afford a soda, right? But that's much different than it is now. So talking to me at one conference at those 2 points in my journey would be very difficult. It's 2 different people. So we're trying to catch people wherever they are on their journey. So there's going to be some, like you guys, have one where the whole room is the whole room, but then at parts of the day, we're going to divide the room in half and let people choose their speaker. So we'll have at times it'll be an owner speaker, where it's maybe more high level about owning the business. And the opposite of that is the manager speaker in the next room over, where if you're bringing your manager, your general managers, or maybe you're a one-man show and you can't worry about the financing of XYZ vans, you just want to help, drivers stay on schedule better, you go to that more beginner class. So there'll be some owner sections, some manager sections, there'll be some beginner, some advanced, and it'll give you kind of a choose your own adventure thing, because what we found last year was trying to, even my session, right? Trying to give one speech to everybody at different points in their journey is really tough. Let's let them choose what's most beneficial for them.
I love that.
That's powerful. That's powerful stuff. And that's something you didn't do last time, by the way, in Chicago. So I know we talked about that offline. I'm pretty excited about that for me and for everybody else too. So let's get into the lineup.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of the feedback we got was like, I liked this one, but I hated this one. But then the next person who gave feedback would say, I love the one that guy hated, but I hated the other one. Fun fact, I was the lowest rated speaker last year. That's fun. That wasn't because of me.
That wasn't because of me. I liked it. I love it.
But it's like, it's helpful. All feedback is good, right? So that led us to decide, all right, maybe we're trying to be too perfect. That's a really hard needle to thread. Can we just do 2 speakers at the same time to let them choose? That's where.
And then I guess you had to really think about which 2 are opposite, because you want to make sure that it's not something, you're going to have a lot of people that want to see both,
Yeah.
right. So balancing that. Oh, these people would only want this. These would only want that.
So is that literally what's going to happen? You're going to have a big room with full disclosure, me and Carla are going to be talking about pricing, and we're going to be doing a speech together, which, by the way, we've done in our workshops, but we've never done to hundreds of people before.
He's pulling me on stage with him.
Yes. So it's going to be even better. If you've ever heard me talk, it's going to be way better with Carla. But anyway.
Don't set the bar. You're supposed to set the bar low, and then I can impress. If you set the bar high, I'm just going to disappoint.
Well, I'm just going to stand off the side of the stage and let Carla rock. But anyway, so we're doing a keynote speech with the whole room, but then, so that you talked about divide, is that what it's going to be? Is you're going to literally divide the room in half?
Danielle's doing the logistics.
Okay.
I would defer to her. But yeah, essentially there's one big room that around lunch every day, the one big room is going to become 2 rooms. Or if that logistics doesn't work, everybody in one room will then revert to everybody in 2 smaller rooms, and you can kind of choose your own adventure, right? So the presenters will run simultaneously, so they both end at the same time, and you can choose, do I want to stay in this same room to hear person X, or do I want to go and catch the more advanced option for person Y in the other room? I suspect, though, it's going to be one room. I know they're working on the details there, but either way, everybody will be as a whole up until lunch, and then from lunch to happy hour, it'll be a choose your own adventure.
Well, and maybe this means everybody needs to go out there and buy 2 tickets. So that way, if they want to see 2 things, they can divide and then not miss anything, share notes.
Are you on commission? Is CLA paying you? Which they're not, by the way.
A lot of what it's doing is encouraging people to bring their general managers.
Yeah.
All right. So I love the new setup with splitting people up and giving people options. Can you share with us a little bit of the lineup, speakers, maybe some of the topics that are going to be happening during the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. We tried to hit anything and everything that operators might need or owners might need. So there's we're hoping, I should lead with, we have this cemented in. Not everybody has been asked or given final approval that, hey, I'll be there. So pending change. That is probably how I work. That's probably a me problem, not a CLA problem.
So some of the speakers might be hearing it first here. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, isn't that awesome though? Isn't that great?
That wouldn't shock me if that happened to me at all.
Yeah, no. So we've got you guys. I think one of the more comical things we're trying to add is the Willifords kicking it off. That's why you shouldn't do pickup and delivery. I understand the event is about wash, dry, fold, and pickup and delivery. And if you're paying a price and you come here and you decide not to, it might be the best money you've ever spent, because wash, dry, fold, and pickup and delivery is very expensive. It does compress your margins. It makes it very difficult. It turns that more passive job into a very involved job. So the kickoff is going to kind of be why not to, and things you should consider before doing it. At that point, if you want to go play golf for the rest of the week, go. If not, we've got speakers lined up, and you'll be coached on how to do wash, dry, fold, and pickup and delivery really, really well. So we've got lots of marketing-centric presentations with Ayad Merjan, Lloyd Silver, Randy Roberts. Lloyd is a classically trained digital marketer who owns laundromats in Sacramento. Randy Roberts is actually up in your neck of the woods somewhere in Ohio.
I think he's in
an
Columbus.
Old school inside sales guy.
I think he's in Columbus. I don't know him, but I've heard about him through Joe Dan Reed, which is a friend of ours. He went up there and saw his Foldex machine, and then Joe Dan bought a Foldex machine. So that's a whole big thing. I don't know if you saw his channel, but he did a whole video on that. So go check it out. Yeah,
he's a big inside sales guy. He's crushing it with Airbnbs and commercial accounts. So it's kind of juxtaposing the 2 different marketing ways you can go. You can go highly digital, or you can go inside sales, kind of hand-to-hand combat. There will be a big section on the folding machine with 4 or 5 guys on a panel.
Oh, really?
Different brands of folding machines. Yeah, we try to lay the speakers out and to address the trends that we're seeing in the niche industry. And one of the trends that was hard to not include is the automation of a lot of this in the folding machines. And so, I know 6, 7 who have bought one in the last year. The trend is definitely coming, and that'll be a catch-all presentation, a Q&A on how those work.
So with a folding machine, and I know this isn't the stereotypical clean show, trade show floor kind of thing, but will they have the machines there? Like will they be demonstrating them, or will they just kind of be talking about them with brochures and maybe a TV? Or
no, I don't think we're dropping in the big folding machines. And now there's like 3 or 4 brands with them. So if you invite one, you got to get them all in there. We're gonna have to take the roof off to get the machines in there, right?
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a lot of anecdotal information and brochures, TV videos, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That's very cool. I wouldn't have thought of that, and I am definitely interested for sure. I'm pretty intrigued by the Fold Tech machine. I've heard I know 6 or 7 people that have bought one in the last year. Seems like might be a good fit for us. So all right, so we have Luke and Lee Williford. If you don't know them, they own like 70 laundromats out in North Carolina. 3rd generation, super smart, super hustlers. They're 2 brothers. If you don't know them, they're rock stars. But they do self-serve only, and they do it very well and at scale. So I think that's, 1, going to be entertaining because they're kind of funny guys, but 2, because they're going to kind of be picking at us. But I'm sure they'll be somewhat serious too as to why they don't do pickup and delivery, because I've talked to Luke extensively about pickup and delivery a few years ago and didn't really mean to, but I think I kind of talked him out of it by telling him the truth. But if you don't know them, that's going to be interesting in and of itself. And then who else do we have? So we have me and Carla obviously speaking. And just so you know, we're kind of talking about how to make sure that you're profitable, and we have a formula that we're going to share with you that we share with all of our attendees at our workshops here in Cincinnati, and how to reverse engineer those numbers to get to the price that you should arrive at if you have a predetermined margin. And so
and ours is going to kind of have 2 sections, just because they're so different, is wash, dry, fold pricing, how to calculate that price, and then also pickup and delivery pricing, because they're really 2 separate beasts.
So we actually are one of those people that got the 90 minutes. I think it's mostly because they knew Carla is long-winded and talks a lot.
And because we're giving ample time for Q&A, right?
Yes.
We think most people will have a lot of questions for you guys.
Yeah. Our goal is 60 minutes talking. That might require duct tape over Dave's mouth, but
probably will. But yeah, our plan is to take, she said wash, dry, fold, but I want to be clear, it's drop off laundry, which is in store, over the counter, drop off laundry. So we're going to spend roughly 30 minutes on that and how to do that pretty extensively, which is actually an entire session that we teach in our workshops. So this is something we've been teaching for a while, and it typically kind of really rocks people's world. Not complicated, by the way, but very enlightening. And so teach you how to kind of reverse engineer and make sure either you are profitable, or if you're not, how you can fix those things according to kind of 4 or 5 silos. And then we're going to do almost the exact same thing, only with pickup and delivery, which she's right. One of the biggest mistakes we made when we went from 4 self-serve stores to pickup and delivery was we thought, well, we already have a team, we already have GMs, we already do drop off laundry. It's got to
be the same.
Priced.
You just
I thought,
deliver
we'll just
it.
get a van, go pick it up. How hard can this be? We've been doing this for 10 years. Well, boy, were we wrong. And so we're going to kind of reverse engineer that for you. And there are similarities. And there are some things that cross over, but for the most part, they're much different than you think they are. And so we're going to do that for about 30 minutes. And then we're going to try as best we can to leave about 30 minutes for Q&A so that you guys can just let us have it. You can just pepper us with questions. What else about the agenda can we tell people? And by the way, this includes food, right? Like, let's assume that I always say, let's leave nothing for granted. Let's assume that people have never been to any industry conference before.
Yeah, perfect. So we're going to get in. The first event is in the evening. Most folks fly in. I believe it's the 4th. October 4th through the 6th, by the way. If you're watching
Tennessee.
in
the future, you've already missed it, 2023, but there will be another one that year. If you're watching this in the future, there's probably a CLA workshop, or I call it a conference, in the future. So go check out the CLA's website. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and there's a big welcome kickoff happy hour. So the 4th is kind of a travel day where everyone comes in, gets settled. We're at the Sonesta in Nashville. We will have a happy hour that evening, and that's a great kind of springboard to go group out. However, a lot of folks will branch off in their different cohorts to go meet up, hang out at the hotel bar, go grab a dinner, things like that. And then the meat and potatoes conference starts the next day, where it starts with breakfast. We serve you breakfast and we serve you lunch, and we fill your schedule all day with speakers. For the first part of the day, we'll all be in one room, kind of hearing from the Daves, Carlas, Willifords of the world. And then it will niche down after that, after lunch, where you can kind of choose your own adventure. We've got Waleed Cope, who is just an entertainer, and he'll talk about new revenue streams and kind of diving deeper into customers' closets. And then there will be on logistics, there will be everything from kind of what the owner needs to know on pricing, calculations, financing, and then in the manager's room or the more beginner room, it's how to lead drivers. What should scorecards look like? How should you be holding them accountable? What are protocols to really starting a pickup and delivery service? The same kind of thing on the wash, dry, fold side. The laundromat side is there'll be one side of the room talking about, maybe infrastructure and building setup for your wash, dry, fold. But then the other side of the room is going to be scorecards for your employees. How do you package? How do you do the day-to-day, things like that? So people can choose, do they want to go high level? Do they want to go low level? Do they want to go owner or manager, beginner, advanced, things like that?
Okay.
Awesome.
And a couple panels. It wouldn't be a conference if familiar faces like Ross Dodds, Charles Measley, Alex Merznak weren't mixed in there. So you'll see some familiar faces too.
Awesome. And I know those panels are just generally speaking a lot of kind of Q&A, ask your question kind of thing, but do they have categories for the different panels? Are they kind of logistics, whatever too? Or what are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
there's some about growth, kind of marketing hacks for growth is one. There's some about scaling it out. There's some managing like scorecarding employees, things like that. So those are coming together quite well. And again, it's kind of depends if you're going to be on that owner advanced path or you're going to be in the beginner or manager path.
Gotcha.
But yeah, one thing I'm super excited about is everyone comes to these with probably a couple questions they want answered. And I can imagine if you don't get those questions answered, leaving quite frustrated. So a big part of our goal is to make sure that the key questions people are coming with get answered to the point that part of the sign up package is going to be asking you to list out those questions so we can make sure to get them addressed by people on stage, but also saving 30, 45 minutes at the end of each day to wrap up to ask a question and pass a mic around the room and give everybody in the room a chance to speak. So it's you're not getting one answer from Mark who has his ways, right? Or Dave who has his ways. You're getting an answer from 15 people and you get to kind of filter through and audit for yourself which one you want to listen to.
Man, that's fantastic. And I'll take that a step further because I've always felt like, and don't get me wrong, this may be the exception just because, wow, this is being really put together well. So good for you guys. But I will say I've always felt like, if not the most valuable thing, one of the most valuable things at every conference / workshop I've ever been to is the networking. So one of the things I want to point out is when we're on the showroom floor, if we call it that, right? And we're being presented to and we have panels and we're passing, that's all amazing. But let me tell you what doesn't or shouldn't stop for you is also while you're eating breakfast. It's also while you're eating lunch. Be intentional about who you sit beside. Nobody's going to bite you. Okay. So if there's a seat open next to me and Carla and we're just having lunch and there's something we talked about that you either disagree with or want clarification, come grab us. I mean, I'm not going to stop eating because I like to eat, but I'll answer your question while I eat. So come talk to us. And I probably shouldn't speak for everybody else, but I know the industry's heart collectively is more and more shifting towards that way of, so just wanted to point that out there before we pass over that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the CLA is there for. The CLA's job is to get everybody in a room to make everyone better and to fight the bad guys, right? Whether the bad guys are the politicians, the local municipalities, the local governments, things like that. They're protecting us and putting us in a room so we can all get better together. So that I love the CLA for it. I like these events for it. I think it's going to be a huge success.
All right, Mark. So I know we haven't talked about it today, but I think it's important that we tell people not only the dates, what's included, all these different things, but I'm sure everybody's going, what's the price? Is this thing $6,000 or, some of our events in the industry are pretty expensive. And so what is the cost of the event? I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
Yeah, they historically have been expensive. And part of niching down in this has been us figuring out who that archetype attendee is. And, wash, dry, fold operators, it's harder work. There's a lot larger payroll. Margins are more thin. We wanted to make this a more approachable event compared to Clean Show or Excellence or other CLA events. So for members, now that the early bird is passed, it is $7.99. And for non-members of the CLA or the DLI, it is $9.99. So
Okay.
$7.99 for members, $9.99 for non-members.
And while you're talking about price, for those of you out there that are watching our show, if you put in the coupon code LM100, LM100, you can get $100 off that price. So just want to put that plug in.
I don't get paid for this. I'm not a sales guy, but I'm passionate. I believe you should join the CLA for a number of reasons. If you're not sure of the reasons, we've had Brian Wallace on the podcast twice now, so go check out those. But just for the value of this alone, if you think about it, if you put in our coupon code, that's $100 off. And if you're not a member and you're going to go, you pay $100 or $1,000 or drop down to the membership price. It's $800. Well. I don't have the
dues.
There you go. I think it's $349, $249, something like that to be a member for the whole year of the CLA. And once you get engaged and plugged in, you'll get other discounts to future events. And if you go into the store and you want to buy a book, you get percentages off and things like that too. So there's a lot of value there, more than I think a lot of people realize. It's part of why we want to do this episode. But ultimately, just very selfishly for me and Carla, we want you to be at this event because not only do we want you to be successful, but we want to meet you. One of my goals especially is to meet as many people as I can and try to impact as many people as I can. However long I'm here on this earth, that's one of my goals in this industry, because I believe that if we help you, you're going to go home and take that information and you're going to serve your community in a better way. So that is the epitome of collaboration, right? So me and Carla, this is not our event. This is a CLA's event. They do a great job. We're honored to be speakers at it. Most of these speakers are friends of ours. And if you don't know them or you're new to the industry, I'm here to tell you, there's probably never been an event like this in the history of our industry. But we would love for you guys to be there. And Mark, thank you. I mean, thanks for being willing to come on here. Once again, this isn't really part of your job, your unpaid job, by the way. This isn't really part of your job as a board member, but I appreciate you being willing to come on and do this and share what this is evolving into. Because honestly, I don't think a lot of people in the industry, I think the 190 people that were there in Chicago last year, I think they're pretty aware, because I think it kind of knocked a lot of people's socks off. I know it did mine, but I don't think people are aware that there's been a lot of lessons learned and a lot of feedback and data that's going to go into this one to make it even better. And then of course, wherever the next one will be, I think it's going to be any better from there. So I think I think we need to give the CLA credit for advocacy work they do, the memberships, the events, but even that they're kind of doubling down and they're saying, hey, we recognize that the industry is changing. We need to change how we put together these events, everything from price points to speakers and all these different things.
I have no doubt this is going to be a blast. Last year was great. This one's going to be better with the 3 or 4 big lessons learned. Speaker list will be out online soon. So if you're not doing it, come talk to Dave or come talk to me. The speaker list is legit. I was highly involved in that, and kind of the forcing function that got me there is I wanted doers. I wanted people that had actually done it. I don't want a sales rep from a company or someone who is a legacy CLA person who doesn't have the most impressive delivery business, right? These are people that are actually doing it, and that have the calluses and bruises to show for it. I don't think there's a speaker on that list that's doing less than $1 million a year in pickup and delivery, right? These are the real deals that are actually doing it. Go meet them, learn, ask them questions. This is going to be fun. I can't wait.
It is.
Yes.
It's going to be really fun. All right. So that's all we have for today. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of that. If you're not coming to the conference, reach out to us. Maybe we can help you in some other way. There's a lot of ways you can get value in this industry, but guys, I got to tell you, this is the best price point and best conference that I think has ever existed. We'll find out if we're right. But we'd love to meet you guys and see you guys there. So hopefully you got some help out of this. All right. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. Take care, everyone.